Okay, so let's set the scene for you today.
Yeah, let's do it.
It is late February 2026. We're looking at the Royal Festival Hall down in London.
Right.
The rain has, well, mostly stopped.
Mostly.
Right, mostly. The red carpet has been vacuumed within an inch of its life, and the statues are polished to a mirror shine. Basically, the entire film industry has descended on London for the BAFTAs.
Which is, the biggest night in British film.
Yeah.
And usually the biggest precursor to the Oscars.
Exactly. Now, normally when we sit down to unpack an award show like this, we were talking about a popularity contest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about marketing budgets. Who shook the most hands at the cocktail parties?
Yeah.
Who had the biggest billboard on Sunset Boulevard?
Right.
Who the safe bet is? You know the drill.
We call it the campaign. Because usually by this point in the season, the campaign is actually more important than the movie itself.
Right.
Right.
But looking at the stack of reports and the reviews and the analyst critiques we have in front of us today for this deep dive, that is simply not the story for 2026.
Yeah.
If you were expecting a coronation of the most famous faces on the planet, you are in for a serious surprise.
It's true. If you look at the industry consensus right now, the headline this year isn't about star power or box office receipts.
No, it's not.
The phrase that keeps popping up in these reports over and over again is bold filmmaking.
Which, let's be honest, is a bit of a buzzword.
Oh, totally.
Like every single year, someone gets up and says, cinema is back or bold is best.
Yeah, it's the standard PR line.
Right. But you're saying the data here, the actual wins in the expert analysis we've got, it really backs that up this time.
It really does, because this deep dive is built on a massive collection of post-show analyses, critical reviews, and obviously the official winners list.
Right.
And they all point to one thing, which is that 2026 was the year the algorithm broke. This wasn't a night for the faint of heart, and it certainly wasn't a night for the sure things.
And that is our mission today. We aren't just going to read you a laundry list of who took home a gold mask, because you know you can find that on a spreadsheet anywhere.
Right. You don't need us for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to understand why they won. Why did one film absolutely bulldoze the competition in a way we haven't seen in years?
Yep.
Why are the acting categories being called a literal shock to the system by analysts?
And perhaps most controversially, why the actual broadcast of the show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the thing you and I actually watched on TV is getting a very, very mixed report card.
It's a real mix of triumph and trouble today.
It is.
So buckle up. Whether you're a film buff tracking the Oscar race or just someone who loves a good underdog story,
Yeah.
there is a lot to get into here.
Shall we start with the juggernaut?
We have to. The headline of the night, the film that didn't just win it, dominated. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another.
Dominated is the right word. I was looking at the breakdown of the wins before we started, and this wasn't a split decision.
Not at all.
It won Best Film, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Editing, and Supporting Actor.
That is a massive haul.
Huge.
I mean, usually you see the technical awards go one way and the big awards go another.
Right, yeah.
You know, the pretty movie wins cinematography and the serious movie wins best film.
Exactly.
But this is a clean sweep across the board.
It is. And for you listening, it's important to understand the specific combination of those awards.
Yeah, break that down for us.
Well, when a single film takes director, screenplay, and editing, that is essentially the holy trinity of filmmaking.
Why does that specific combo matter so much, though?
Because it means the film works on every single level. It's not just that the script was good on paper or that the director had a strong vision on set.
Yeah.
Winning editing means the construction of the film in post-production, the pacing, the rhythm. That was perfect.
Right.
Winning cinematography means the visual language was perfect. And winning best film means the sum of those parts was undeniable.
So it wasn't just that people liked the story, it was that they respected the sheer mechanics of it.
Precisely. The reviews described the victory as inevitable. Not because it had the biggest marketing campaign throwing parties in Hollywood,
Right.
but because the filmmaking itself was just undeniable. It was viewed widely as a statement win.
I love that phrase, a statement win.
Oh,
It sounds like the voters were really trying to say something about the state of cinema.
I think they were, because the critics are pointing out that One Battle After Another is actually quite dense.
Yeah, it's not a light watch.
Not at all. They highlighted its ambitious political themes and strong craftsmanship. Now, we're just reporting on what the critics observed here, but by rewarding a film with those intense themes, the voters are signaling they value the actual construction of a heavy, complex movie.
Not just a crowd pleaser.
Exactly. It reinforces this whole idea that 2026 is truly a director-driven year.
It's interesting you say director-driven, because sometimes award season feels very studio-driven.
Oh, absolutely.
The studio picks a horse and just rides it to the finish line with ads. But this feels like the artists reclaiming the trophy.
That's a great way to put it. And looking at the notes we have, analysts are saying this confirms the film's momentum heading right toward the Oscars.
Oh, for sure. The BAFTA to Oscar pipeline is always incredibly strong. But when you have a sweep of this magnitude, specifically winning director and screenplay, does that basically lock it in?
It shifts the conversation entirely. Before this, you might have had a debate.
Right.
Now, the analysts are saying it's incredibly difficult to bet against. It shifts the entire narrative from will it win to can anything stop it?
So Paul Thomas Anderson is sitting pretty. He is the king of the hill right now.
He really is.
But if the best film race feels inevitable, the acting categories were, well, let's call them chaotic.
Chaotic is the polite word.
Right.
The analysts are actually calling it a total disruption. If one battle after another was the immovable object, the best actor race was the unstoppable force of chaos.
The biggest shock of the night. We really have to talk about this.
Dude.
Going into the night, the conversation was completely dominated by the heavyweights.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the list of nominees right here. Leonardo DiCaprio. Timothée Chalamet.
The very definition of movie stars.
These are guys who launch 1,000 memes just by walking out the door.
Right.
Just showing up is usually half the battle for a nomination or a win for them.
Yeah.
The star power factor is massive.
Correct. Usually the narrative, the career arc, the sheer fame, it all weighs on the voters' minds heavily.
And yet they didn't win. The trophy went to Robert Aramayo.
A massive, massive upset. I mean, sources report there were audible gasps in the press room, kind of upset.
So help us understand this. We've got DiCaprio and Chalamet, absolute titans of the industry right now.
Yeah.
And they lose to Aramayo. How did the critics interpret this? Was it seen as a mistake or a fluke?
Not at all. They didn't call it a mistake. In fact, they called it a bold BAFTA choice. The consensus from the analysts is that this signals a clear preference for performance depth over star power.
Performance depth over star power. That's a pretty heavy concept. Are they saying DiCaprio doesn't have depth? Because I think he's pretty good.
Well, nobody is saying Leo isn't talented.
Right.
But here's the critical distinction. Aramayo's win represents the voters ignoring the celebrity factor entirely.
Okay.
They ignored the magazine covers. They ignored the box office numbers and the It Boy narratives. They focused purely on the raw work on the screen.
It really levels the playing field, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It basically tells actors, hey, you don't need to be on the cover of Vanity Fair to win this. You just need to turn in the best performance.
It does. And it completely disrupts the Oscar forecasts. The analysts are calling the race entirely unpredictable now.
Wow.
Usually by late February, the BAFTAs clarify the race. They tell us who the clear frontrunner is. But this year, they threw a wrench in the whole machine.
I love a chaotic awards season. It really keeps things spicy.
Does.
If the star power variable isn't working, then honestly, nobody knows what's going to happen next month. But it wasn't all shocks, right? There was one acting win that everyone kind of saw coming, but was still incredibly satisfying.
Yes, we have to mention Jessie Buckley winning Best Actress for Hamnet.
This was the sure thing of the night.
It was widely predicted, yes. But the nuance here in the source material is why the critics loved it so much.
Right.
Even though it was expected, the reviewers specifically praised the emotional intensity of the role.
So it wasn't just a career achievement award.
Exactly. It wasn't one of those it's her turn awards. It was a recognition of an absolute powerhouse performance. And honestly, this connects right back to Aramayo.
How so?
Whether it was the sheer surprise of Aramayo or the expectation of Buckley, the common thread the critics saw was artistic merit.
I see. So on one hand, you have the shock, and on the other, you have the sure thing. But both point to the exact same conclusion.
Which is that the voters were watching the actual movies, not the fame.
Precisely. Now, obviously, Paul Thomas Anderson's film took home a truckload of trophies. But I want to shine a light on the other films for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because looking at our source material, there were some other big winners that in any other normal year might have been the main headline story.
That's a great point. You have what the industry calls the runner-ups with reputation.
I like that.
These are the films that missed Best Film but still had a massive night and really define the texture of the year in cinema.
Let's talk about Sinners. This is a really interesting case study to me. It won Original Screenplay, Supporting Actress, and Score.
Sinners is fascinating because the critics highlighted its artistic risk-taking.
Risk-taking. That's really high praise. And looking at the awards, Screenplay and Score, That's a pretty unusual combination, isn't it?
It really is. Usually screenplay awards go to very dialogue-heavy films.
Right.
Lots of talking, lots of big dramatic monologues. But the critics noted that Sinners has a very music-driven style.
So the music was actually a core part of the storytelling.
It seems so. Winning original screenplay alongside score suggests that the risk was in the very structure of the story itself. It wasn't a conventional narrative. It implies the voters were actively rewarding a riskier, more experimental way of telling a story on screen.
It's not just scene A leads to scene B. It's more of a vibe, a mood.
Exactly. And honestly, the BAFTAs have always been a bit more willing than the Oscars to reward that specific kind of artistic bravery.
Good for them. And then there's Frankenstein. And when I hear Frankenstein, I just think monsters and bolts in the neck. But the awards it won suggest something incredibly visually stunning.
It absolutely dominated the craft categories: costume design, production design, makeup. The experts flat out labeled this the technical showcase of the year.
Which is such an important distinction. We talked about one battle after another being the director's film winning for its internal construction.
Right.
But Frankenstein feels like the world-building film.
That's the perfect way to distinguish them. Frankenstein might not have won the top prize for its thematic depth, but as a piece of visual art, as a tangible thing to look at, it was unrivaled.
Yeah.
It tells us that the industry is still investing heavily in practical, tangible world creation.
It's so good to know that in an era of green screens and endless AI, people still really appreciate a good costume and a great set that you can actually touch.
Absolutely. There's still a massive hunger for the tactile in cinema.
There is one more winner I want to highlight from the reports, and this one feels really special. It's a spotlight on global cinema, the film Boong.
Yes, this is a highly significant moment. Boong is a Manipuri language film, and it won for children's film.
Now, for our listeners who might not be geography buffs, Manipuri is a language from Northeast India.
Right.
So this isn't your typical massive Bollywood blockbuster, is it?
Far from it. It's a distinct culture, a distinct language, and the critics are calling this win a major milestone for India's global recognition.
That is fantastic. It's pretty rare for a film in that specific language to break through on such a major international stage like the BAFTAs.
It really underscores how global the voting body is becoming. It's not just an exclusive club for Hollywood and London anymore.
It connects back to that theme of discovery we always talk about. If you're a listener looking for something new to watch, you've probably heard of Frankenstein by now.
Right.
You probably haven't heard of Boong. But the BAFTAs are essentially telling you to pay attention to it.
Exactly. Because there's world-class storytelling happening in literally every corner of the globe.
Okay, so let's just take a breath for a second. We've established that the winners were bold. We've established that the acting awards prioritized performance depth over fame.
Yep.
We've got experimental storytelling and amazing global discovery. So artistically, this night was an absolute home run.
Artistically, yes, an absolute triumph.
But we have to talk about the show itself, the actual television production. Because according to the reviews and the analysts, the experience of watching the ceremony, well, had some serious issues.
Right. If the art was the triumph, the broadcast was unfortunately the trouble.
Let's start with the good news first, though. The host, Alan Cumming.
A definite thumbs up from all the critics there.
He's got that undeniable energy, doesn't he? He's a real showman.
He is. Hosting these awards is quite often described as a thankless job.
Oh, totally.
You're basically playing to a room of nervous people who just want to know if they won or not. But sources widely praised his humor and his sheer energy. He navigated the room really well.
And generally, the speeches and the musical performances were praised too, right? For being very emotional and meaningful.
Yes, they were. So the actual content taking place on the stage, that was universally considered good.
But then we get to the broadcast itself, the BBC coverage. What exactly happened there? Because I'm seeing words in these reports like archaic and lagging behind.
Yeah, this is where the expert verdict shifts to a hard thumbs down. The main structural criticism was all about the broadcast being delayed.
Delayed in 2026.
I know. In an era of live streaming and instant reaction and constant social media, a delayed broadcast just feels ancient.
It does.
It completely disconnects the home audience from the live excitement happening in the room.
So imagine you're on your phone,
Right.
you're on X or whatever, and you see Robert Aramayo wins pop up on your feed. But on your TV, they're still reading the nominees.
Exactly. It completely kills the tension. It makes the show feel like a rerun of an event that already happened an hour ago.
That is so frustrating.
The experts argue that this presentation style is simply outdated. It just doesn't respect the modern viewer.
And it wasn't just technical lag causing issues, was it? There was a specific incident heavily mentioned in the reports, a pretty big controversy.
Yes, and we have to report this carefully as it's quite serious. The sources detail a specific broadcast incident involving an unintended slur.
Oh, wow. Unintended slur.
Yeah.
That's not something you can just sweep under the rug.
No, not at all. It was significant enough to trigger an official investigation immediately. And the sad reality, according to the analysts, is that this incident really overshadowed large parts of the night.
It just sucks the oxygen right out of the room.
It does, because instead of the next morning's headlines being purely about Paul Thomas Anderson's genius or Robert Aramayo's massive upset,
Right.
a huge chunk of the news cycle is instead dominated by this broadcast error.
That is such a shame. It's like the art itself was soaring, but the machinery broadcasting it was just clanking and sputtering along.
That is the perfect synthesis. The overall expert consensus described the night perfectly. They called it artistically strong, but organizationally imperfect.
That's the bumper sticker for the 2026 BAFTAs right there. Artistically strong, organizationally imperfect.
It's a harsh reminder that these award shows are fundamentally two things at once. They are a celebration of art, and they are a massive live television production.
Yeah.
And this year, the celebration clearly succeeded, but the production really struggled. They have a lot of very serious meetings to have before next year's show.
A whole lot of meetings. So bringing it all together, what does this all mean for us? For you listening right now, we've covered the big wins, the shocking losses, and the broadcast mess. What is the ultimate takeaway?
Well, if we connect the bigger picture, it sets the stage for a completely fascinating end to the awards season.
Because usually the BAFTAs clarify things for everyone. They tell us, okay, here's the clear frontrunner, everyone can go home.
And in some ways, they did exactly that with one medal after another.
True.
If you haven't seen that film yet, the data says you absolutely need to. It is the defining film of the year. The entire industry has spoken definitively on that.
But in the acting categories, on the other hand.
It's the Wild West.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is exciting. It proves that depth can actually still beat celebrity status. It tells us that the voters are actually sitting down and watching the movies, not just looking at the flashy posters.
Which is exactly what we want as film fans. We want the best work to actually win. We want to feel like the quality matters more than the campaign.
Precisely.
So to recap the night for you, Paul Thomas Anderson is the absolute king of the hill. Robert Aramayo is the giant slayer. Frankenstein made everything look beautiful and tangible. And the BBC, well, they really need to fix their delay.
They certainly do.
But ultimately, it was a night where bold filmmaking won, and that is always something to celebrate. Now, before we let you go, there is one lingering thing that I'm still thinking of, something that just keeps gnawing at me from the expert analysis regarding those actors.
What's that?
It's this whole idea of the acting shakeup. It feels much bigger than just one single night of awards.
It really does. And here is the provocative thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today.
Let's hear it.
We just saw the BAFTAs actively willing to ignore the biggest literal movie stars on the planet, DiCaprio, Chalamet, to reward pure performance depth in someone like Robert Aramayo.
Right.
My question based on all these reports is this. Does this signal a permanent long-term shift in how we value movie stars as an industry?
Wow.
Are we entering a new era where the big name above the title matters way less than the actual craft? Or is this just a one-year anomaly, a tiny glitch in the matrix, and next year we'll be right back to the usual popularity contest?
That is the million-dollar question. Is the era of the movie star win officially over? Or did Leo just have an off year?
Only time will tell, but for 2026, the craft definitely won.
And on that note, we will let you get right back to your movie watch list. You've got some serious catching up to do. Thanks for diving in with us.
Stay curious.
See you next time.